Good evening, everyone. I hope you are well this evening. I've got a crowd way back here. Would you like to join the general public here? No, you don't have to. You really don't. I'm just teasing you. And I know we have some folks on at home watching this on live stream, which is terrific. But we're thrilled to have you all here this evening to kick off the college process for the class of 2024, our juniors. And I'm really excited to be the person here tonight to introduce you to our fabulous college team. And I just have a couple of remarks before we get started. The first thing that I want to say to you is that, the college process is a wonderful process of self-exploration. It is a wonderful culmination of the high school experience here at Bryn Mawr. You're going to learn a lot about yourself and your family through this process. And I'm going to tell you the end of the story, which is you're going to wind up at a wonderful college that matches your interests. And I think you're going to do that because you're in the hands of this amazing college team with Miss Strauss, Miss Giles, and Miss Klein. They are fabulous people who know the process inside and out. So you've got sort of a leg up there. We're very fortunate to have the ratio of about 1 to 30 in terms of students to counselors. In some high schools, it's 1 to 300. I think that's a really fortunate thing. They know you and have known you as you've gone through this school. So they are able to really present you as the wonderful, unique human beings that you are when you go into the college process. And you're going to be doing a lot of thinking over the next 2 years about what kind of a college are you interested in, what kind of a program do you want to go to. My advice to you is to keep your mind wide open at this point in time because there's a lot of things out there to explore. And I hope that you will take the time to really enjoy this process. I know it can feel very stressful. There are deadlines that mean something in the college process, so you have to really do that. But you've got a tremendous support team here at the school that really can help you walk through that process. So that's my biggest thing to say to you is as juniors, I know there's, the big belief about junior year is it's stressful and you have to get all of these things done because of the college process. Really what we want you to do is embrace being an upper class person at this school. You have finally made it to the point where you have a lot of choices and you're going to be able to explore some really amazing things. And when you get yourself interested at doing things that you're really interested in, that's going to be what you represent in your college applications. And that's going to make you an authentic and interesting candidate for college. So obviously I know the least about this amongst the front row crowd here. It's a real pleasure to have Eric Strand here tonight I'm so sorry, I should have brought the paper up, from the Dartmouth College, and he's going to have a conversation with Anne-Marie Strauss later on this evening about the college process and give you even more insider tips, and you'll walk away from this evening with a lot of great information. But I just send you with my wishes. I'm here for you, and I'm here to back all of us up. I want it to be a process that affirms who you are as a person and a student. And I feel a high degree of confidence that we've got the right people in the school to do that with you. So with no further ado, I actually have another event that I'm going to, so I'm going to literally walk right out the door. We've got an alumni dinner going on the other side of campus. And I know you are in fabulous hands here with Ms. Strauss, so I'm just going to introduce my wonderful colleague, Anne-Marie Strauss, the Director of College Counseling, to take over from here.
Thank you, Ms. Sadler, and have a fabulous evening with the alums. We appreciate you. So welcome very much. Welcome juniors and families to the kickoff night for college, for the college process here at the Bryn Mawr School. And for all of you who are joining us via the live stream, we welcome you as well, and thank you very much for joining us on live stream. So let's get the party started. Okay, so I wanted to go through this evening's agenda so that you know what to expect here in the next pretty much 90 minutes. We'll definitely be out of here before 8:30, if not right on the dot, because I know all of you have homework and probably dinners and other things that you need to attend to at home. So we appreciate your time, and we will be timely in our evening tonight. So we are going to go over the College Counseling Office's program with you and also our philosophy on how we are going to help your children find fit and find good fit schools for them as they are looking for their next academic and residential home after the Bryn Mawr School. So big change is coming after Bryn Mawr. But I will also say you still have 2 years of high school left. So you're not out the door yet. There are still 2 full years of high school left. And a lot happens during that time, and we are very much looking forward to being with you over the next 15 to 16 months as that is all happening. So we will talk a little bit about testing and the world in which we're living, the test optional movement, and we'll want to talk about that. We want to talk about some upcoming events that are happening both here at the Bryn Mawr School and also virtually and in the land of AIMS, which AIMS is the Association of Independent Schools in Maryland in DC. So we do get together as a coalition and we do some college counseling programming. Most of that is virtual, but we do want to give you that information as well. Then, of course, we're going to talk about our signature programs here at Bryn Mawr, and we will have some remarks from Eric, our guest speaker from Dartmouth, who actually lives in DC. So he just came up the Beltway to be with us this evening. 2 hours, but 38 miles. So thank you for bearing the traffic and coming. And then Eric and I are going to sit on the stage at the end, and we're going to open it up to questions from the audience. So we hope that our presentation today will generate some questions for you. My colleague, Eric Alstrand, is really truly transparent in his approach to giving information about what the admissions offices are, how they're doing their business, and how they are selecting classes. So I do hope that you will ask some good Bryn Mawr questions. So that is tonight's program. Oh, and how many people put their name in for a book raffle? Awesome. Before we leave, we will raffle the books off as well. So that is the fun part of the night, and I almost forgot about that. Don't want to forget about those book raffles. And we'll talk about the books later on, too. Okay, so as we said, the college process, you have 2 full years of high school. So you have finished your 2 years in 9th and 10th grade, right? In 9th grade, you learned how to be a high school student. You learned the ins and outs of the upper school. You met faculty who are your adult mentors, and you learned how to do school, right? And manage your time. In 10th grade, you did school again, and then you started working with us in January through our Career Explorations and Test Prep class. So if you were here with us in 10th grade, you had 4 sessions of test prep from Cap Ed, and you also had 4 sessions of Career Explorations with us, which I would say is sort of college counseling light. We don't call it college counseling, but we are preparing you to enter the formal college counseling process in your junior year. You've also been able to take a look at all of the opportunities that are here in the upper school for you, all of the clubs, all of the music and the drama performances, all of the athletic opportunities, possibly internships, research, capstone projects, all of the things. And now as a junior, you have the opportunity really to lean into those. You know what the lay of the land is, and now you get to pick, what do you want to do? Where are you going to make your mark? Where do you want to spend your time? So really, the junior year, when you're an upper class student, that is when you are starting to think much more intently about what what are the things that you're doing with your days. It is 15 to 16 months. All of the parents in the audience and caregivers know that in a 15 to 16 month period, your children change a lot, right? This is, if you think about it, going from when they were 1 to being a 3-year-old. There's massive amounts of growth and development. There will be massive amounts of growth and development in your children between tonight and when they graduate. They may have an idea, and you all may have an idea right now of where you want to go to college or the kind of school you want. I would imagine that for many folks in the audience, for many of the students in the audience, it might sound something like this. I want to go to a medium-sized institution in or near a city that has a low student to faculty ratio where I can do internships, and I also want it to be far away from Maryland. So that is often where we start. And then I can assure you that over the next 15 to 16 months, sometimes that stays the same. Sometimes that is where they land. And other times, and then over the development that happens over the next year and a half, sometimes it's like, well, maybe being in Maryland isn't so bad. Maybe being in, I can go to DC where it's 38 miles away, but on any given day it could be 4 hours. So, they start to make all of these decisions. They also start to look and think about, and we help them through our college counseling program, think about what are the courses that they really enjoy in school, right? What excites them? What are they excited to get to when they come into school every morning? And maybe what are the classes that they aren't looking forward to, right? And we help them think about that and be introspective about that. We also talk about what kinds of classes do you prefer. Do you like your Harkness style classes? The Harkness style is the Socratic method where you're sitting at a large table and the faculty member, the teacher, is at the table with you, and it's a discussion back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There is no lecture in the Harkness model. So we do a lot of that at the Bryn Mawr School, but then we also have classes that are a little bit more lecture type classes. So we talk to the students about what do you prefer? What is your preferred learning method? Do you like those Harkness discussions where, everyone is talking and you're ping, 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 ping? Or are you a person that is more comfortable, sort of receiving the information, processing it in a lecture style, and then asking the questions as you need to? Often it's a mix of both, right? We talk to students about what kind of assessments do you prefer and what works best for you. Are you someone that likes a test? You just give me a test, I want to study for it, I want to walk in, take the test, and be done with it. Or are you someone who prefers projects and papers? Do you like having a deadline and having a project and a paper that it takes you maybe, a week or 4 weeks to get the assessment together? So we talk about that and what is the preference of the student. There is no right or wrong, right? There are combinations of all of these at lots of different places across the country, but it's important that the student starts to think about what is important to them and how do they learn best. So it may seem overwhelming, but I hope that you know, and that at the end of this program today and throughout your days at the Bryn Mawr School, that you know that we are with you every step of the way. And if you have questions, please email us, please call us, please stop in our offices. If you're students, please grab us in the hall. We are absolutely happy to answer any questions that you have. We are your partners in this, and we feel firmly that we are all on the same team and that we are going to go through this process with you together. Okay? Any tennis fans in the audience? Okay, excellent. So you, and even if you're not a tennis fan, you must know that this is Serena Williams, right? Serena Williams quite possibly is the greatest player of all time. And she has just evolved away from tennis, right? Serena Williams is not retiring. She will not say she is retiring. She's evolving away from tennis. But we put her up there, first of all, just as inspiration because she is possibly the greatest of all time. And her career has been a marathon, right? Not a sprint. I mean, she won her first Grand Slam at 17, and she's 40-something now? 41 maybe. So, she's the inspiration and the memory and the image that I want you all to remember when you think about a marathon, not a sprint. Let's channel Serena Williams because she's a good person to channel. So, all right. Okay, great. And I also want to take a moment to introduce the college counseling team formally to you this evening. We are, as Ms. Sadler said, we are so fortunate, and you are so fortunate, and this is part of what you invest your money in, as to come to the Bryn Mawr School, and you invest in a college counseling program, and you invest in small ratios. There are 3 full-time college counselors here, plus 1 full-time college counseling assistant, Jiho Kim, who you met out at the welcome table. for your class, which our classes range between 80 and 90 some students, but it is a very small ratio, so we truly get to know you, and we hope that you get to know us as well. Like she said, most schools, most independent schools in the area's ratio is far higher than that, and certainly public school is a whole different story. I mean, they're looking at 400 to 500 students per school counselor. So you have invested well. I hope you think so as well. But the team tonight is myself. This is my 3rd year here at the Bryn Mawr School. This is my 22nd year doing this job in the work of college counseling, and I absolutely love it. It's different every year, and that's what keeps me coming back. The students here are really interesting. They're dedicated. They are ambitious. They're kind. They're humble. And it's really fun to get to know them in our offices. My Associate Director of College Counseling is Kate Klein. And Kate is joining us, has just joined us this summer as of July 1. We're thrilled to have her on board. Kate is coming to us with admissions experience at Johns Hopkins University, as well as a private consulting firm for college counseling out of Manhattan. So we're very happy to have Kate here, and excited for you all to get to know her as well. And then Shanae Giles is our Assistant Director of College Counseling, and Shanae has been with us for about a year and a half now, and is an amazing part of our college counseling team. We're certainly blessed to have Shanae on board as well. She actually grew up in South Carolina and was working in admissions in South Carolina, and then came up to the Baltimore area during the pandemic, and that's when we snatched her up. So I'm very happy to have Shanae with us this evening. And then, of course, our partner on the college admissions side, Eric Alstrand, is here from Dartmouth College, and Ms. Giles will give you a much more formal introduction of him later in the program. But this is who we are. This is the team that we are here for you. We are your advisors, and we are also your advocates. And I want to talk a little bit about both of those roles. We're your advisors in that we are going to talk with you straight. We're going to look at your academic profile, all of the amazing things that you've done outside of the classroom, everything that you've done when you're not eating, sleeping, and in school. We want to know all of that good stuff. So we get to know you. And then we're going to give you advice. We're going to advise you based on the information that we have over many, many years of doing college admissions work, and the information that we have from Bryn Mawr, the data that we have, and also, looking at your profile, and we're going to give you our best advice. Kids are always asking us questions about course selection. What do you think about this course versus this course? What do you think about, where do you think this is the kind of school I think I want? Can you give me some ideas about this? What do you think about this place? Do you think I would like it? Are those my people? So we're going to give you straight advice. We are also your advocates. And in the advice, we're going to be 100% honest. So and we always talk with our students in our offices too that please know that we are giving you advice because we want you to be as informed as possible. We are also your advocates. When you apply to colleges and when you are in the application process, we have colleagues on the admissions in the admissions offices that we're able to call and ask questions, right? If I didn't know, if someone said, I'm interested in Dartmouth, but I'm really interested in fashion design, do they have a fashion design program? First of all, I would say, well, let's Google that before I call Eric and ask him that. But there are questions that sometimes it comes up and I'm like, I don't know. And we've Googled it and we've researched and we don't know the answer to that. Let me email or pick up the phone and ask that question. So we very much are blessed to have partners on the college admission side and relationships that we've built so that we can help share information back and forth to best serve you. I would say Jiho Kim, who was also out at the welcome area, she is our assistant, and she is also someone that you should absolutely get to know. She's a resource for you and will answer lots of questions that you have. She also manages our schedule for us, so if you're on our scheduling links and you can't find a time to get in, please feel free to email GHO to stop in and talk to Ms. Kim and say, you know, Ms. Strauss's schedule looks really bananas, but I really want to talk to her. Can you squeeze me in somewhere? She'll be happy to do that. So please do get to know her as well. And of course, the team includes all of you and your teachers, your advisors, your coaches, your club members. You're all part of the team, and parents and caregivers are a huge part of the team, and we do want to partner with you, and we appreciate you all very much for partnering with us. All right, moving on to the college counseling program that we run here at the Bryn Mawr Schools. So, like I said at the beginning, the students have done career explorations and test prep with us last year. Starting on December 1st, they will start in our college counseling group classes. So we have group classes. We actually hold them in here with the entire junior class, and we're giving them lots of information. This would be what is considered a lecture-style class, where we're giving a lot of information to the student. Certainly they're asking questions, but we're just giving them a lot of information, and we're talking to them again about what are their interests, what are their preferences, what do they like and want out of the college search process. And then starting in January, we will be meeting with students and families one-on-one. We invite you to make appointments with us starting in mid-January to come in and have that initial college counseling appointment. We do ask you to please give us the fall to work with our seniors. Right now, the seniors are beginning their college application process, and we are working every day in our offices 8 to 5 with the students, helping with their essays, helping to curate their list, helping to get a strategy together about their application deadlines. So we do ask that we have the fall to concentrate on the seniors and to work closely with them, and we promise that we will give you that same opportunity next fall when you're seniors and you are coming into our offices and doing your applications as well. But we do also have a second college night for you in January, early January, which we'll talk much more about later on in the program. We will help you to brainstorm and write and revise your essays. That's part of what we do. We have already run the mini test prep. Right now, as of actually, Eric, we were chatting a little bit earlier before the program started. Right now is what is called travel season in the admissions offices. So Eric and all of his colleagues across the country and the world, in fact, are now in the travel season, and most of them had just hit the road on Monday. We will have, at the Bryn Mawr School, we will have over 150 colleges and universities visit us between 2 days ago, or yesterday and October 31st. So in 8 weeks, we will see over 150 colleges here on campus who want to come, who want to meet our students, who want to talk to our students, and who want to share their information about their college and university with our students. We will also tell you how you can sign up to take advantage of those visits in a little bit. And then, of course, we have our internship and our experiential learning programs, and there is an internships link on our website, and also Ms. Giles is our internship coordinator, so we do hope that you're looking, as a junior, we do hope that you're looking at internships. We hope that you're visiting that internship link on our website, checking out all of the different internships that are offered and available, and also there is a form on the website if you are interested in a particular kind of internship that's not offered, you can request a meeting with Ms. Giles, and you can work together to see if we can find one for you. So, that, in a nutshell, is the program that we run here. And at this point, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Shanae Giles, who's going to talk to you about the college search process. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here with you all. It's nice to see a couple of you that I've met, a couple of you that I haven't met, quite a few that I haven't met. But as Ms. Strauss said, my name is Shanae Giles. I'm the Assistant Director of College Counseling. And I want to just tell you a little bit about our search process. So the first step in choosing the right fit schools for your students is to realistically and truthfully assess the type of student they are right now and want to be in college. So I want to highlight that our college process is student to school, not school to student. We aren't trying to change you to fit a certain type of school. We're trying to discover who you are and have you discover who you are. Even if you don't have that fully figured out yet, you have like your main core values, your main core goals that you may not even realize are really true values to you. So our college process is helping you discover that and then find schools that will allow you to grow and thrive in that, okay? So student to school, not school to student. So for example, if you're looking at academic fit, personal fit, and financial fit, trying to find a school that's the right fit for you. I like to tell my students an example of when I moved to Baltimore, because as Ms. Strauss said, I'm from South Carolina, so I knew nothing about Baltimore. It wasn't on my list. That's a long story. We can talk later. And I was like trying to figure out an apartment for myself. And so I knew that I needed a parking space. I knew that I needed at least 2 separate rooms because I love cats. And I love living near college campuses. I've always worked in the college arena, and I love being near college students. It's just like a vibrant energy for me. And so I knew the things that I could live without, though. A dishwasher, and I knew the things that I couldn't compromise on, which was rent. I can only afford so much, right? So being introspective about these things, knowing these things about myself, even though they were just a few things, I could look at a lot of different apartments that also fit my needs. And so once I made a decision, then I had my bottom needs down, right? And I could adjust and grow and thrive in that environment knowing that I had my needs met. So think of it as like searching for your apartment, okay? Nice little example. So then I could become the confident, thriving adult that I hope that I at least perceive myself to be. So let's dive deeper into academic fit, personal fit, and financial fit. All right, so for you all, when you're thinking about academic fit, so what setting do I learn best in? What do I want to learn? We asked some of the students these sort of like self-inquiry questions in our first one-on-one meeting. I love that meeting because sometimes the lights go on and it's like, oh, Ms. Giles, you know, I actually really do enjoy my biology classes. I'd like to do more of that. I love seeing the lights go on. So we asked some of these in our one-on-one meetings when we first start meeting with you. And some of the different questions you should start to think about are, how do I learn best? Ms. Strauss mentioned that earlier too. Is it Harkness style? Is it discussion based? Is it lecture hall style? Is this really working for me so I can kind of take notes and do my own thing? How much do I want to interact with faculty outside of the classroom? So in my undergrad, our faculty members would actually like invite us over to their houses. So if there was a special occasion, or if you even had friends like in the honors program and they had a dinner at a faculty member's house, you'd sometimes get invited to that. I went kayaking with my professor, and we still would to this day, and we're still Facebook friends. So if you like that kind of really close interaction to keep you accountable, which it definitely, once you go kayaking with your professor, you don't show up late for class ever again. So it definitely showed me that accountability. I loved that. Maybe you want some distance. You're like, I was close enough to my teachers at Bryn Mawr. I'm not doing this again. Let's have some distance. Assessment preference. So how do you like to test? How do you like to be assessed? Is it projects? Is it more research-based? Do you like more long-term things, short-term things? What's the kind of atmosphere that I want to be in? And for students, sometimes this can be a hard question to answer. It might take a little deep diving. So do I want to be in a collaborative environment where other students are asking me questions and thinking? I would describe Bryn Mawr as a collaborative environment for sure. Do I like that collaborative environment, or do I kind of want the pressure? Do I want some more like academic competition? Do I really feel like I can push myself in that environment? It's up to you. Questions to ask yourself. And then one thing to think about is also graduate outcomes. So graduation rate, is that something that's important to me? Do I want a school that has a good career services office? So I know that I'm doing the most that I can to be set up once I graduate college. Is that something that's super important to me that I want to work on? So things to think about, questions to ask yourself when you're thinking of academic fit. Now when it comes to personal fit, are these my people? Will I be comfortable here? Sometimes it's a feeling thing. You step onto campus and you're like, yeah, this is it. Or you step onto campus and you're like, no, this isn't where it's at, right? So how far away from home do I want to be? Do I want to be within driving distance? Do I want to be able to do laundry at my parents' house occasionally? Or is that just something that I don't need, like the dishwasher? Do I want to see similar faces on campus? Do I want people to know my name? Do I want to be able to have that school spirit, to be able to go to a football game and just like really like, well, I was at the University of South Carolina, so we twirled around white t-shirts. And I loved seeing people's eyes light up when Cocky showed up. So do I want to have that school spirit? Do I want to have that camaraderie? That's a big part of the college process, right? The biggest question on the personal fit too is, how do I see myself growing, evolving, and changing in this environment? Biggest thing to ask yourself. And moving on to financial fit, the third part of this, what are my financial considerations around college cost? So what's my family budget? How do we finance college? I would say avoid kind of the it'll all just work out thinking. Because it may not. So let's focus more so on how can we plan, prepare, how can we soak up all the financial information that we can get on the front end so that we're not, getting some unexpected results on the back end, okay? So let's plan and prepare on that. Some of the things to think about is also graduation outcomes. Net price calculators can be your best friends. The financial aid websites of colleges can be your best friends. So you can go ahead and start to ask those questions of what we can afford. I want to point out here the Paying for College Night in the yellow box. That's about the financial aid process by Chad Spencer, who knows entirely too much about financial aid. I never want to know this much about financial aid. And this person is just stellar. I go every year just to hear the information over again. So one good thing to put also in your toolbox there. And on this page, I just want to make a note that remember that it matters more what you do when you get to college and how you take advantage of the resources that are available to you than where you actually decide to go, okay? So keep that in mind. Whatever the results are, take full advantage of them, okay? So don't think that just because a school is more expensive, that it's a better fit for you. Not exactly true, okay? Remember, student to school, not school to student. All right. So from here, we're going to talk a little bit about testing, and Ms. Klein's going to come up and take over for me.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to meet you. As Ms. Strauss mentioned, my name is Ms. Klein. I'm super excited to be here at Bryn Mawr and to get to know all of you over the next 2 years. So testing. Everyone's really excited to learn more about this, right? So I want to talk a little bit about what testing is, how it's used, and how it may not be used. So testing includes national standardized tests, so things like the SAT and the ACT. We'll come back to the PSAT in just a minute. So those national tests are going to be used as part of your academic profile when you're being assessed in the admissions process. So a college will look at your transcript, the courses that you've taken over the last 4 years, have you challenged yourself, in what areas have you challenged yourself, and how have you done? And then if you are submitting test scores, they will also consider the test scores in that academic picture. So that's how they'll be used. The kind of curveball in all of this is test optional. And so test optional is a testing policy that's grown over the last couple of years, and that allows students to submit test scores if they feel that they are representative of their academic performance. If you feel like your test scores really match your performance in the classroom, go ahead and send them. Many schools now are offering test optional policies, and that is if you feel that your test score is not a good indicator of your academic performance and success, you have the option to withhold those from your application. And that's one of the things that we'll go through in the college search process and college counseling process with you, is to really develop a strategy that makes sense for you as a student. Are you a strong tester? Are the schools on your list requiring test scores? Do they have test optional policies? All of that will go into play as we start to think about these tests. So on the screen, you'll see what's going to happen over the next 2 years. I want to call attention to the two most pressing, which are the PSAT and our mock ACT. So the PSAT will be happening in October 12th, and surprise, you're all registered already, so get ready. The PSAT is a preliminary test, so this is sort of your first taste of national testing. It will be done during the school day here on October 12th, and the results of the PSAT will help you start to plan, do I want to take the PSAT or the ACT, and kind of get like a base score, help you understand where you might want to spend some more time studying, and where you'll kind of see some of that natural growth over the course of your junior year. The PSAT is also the qualifying test for the National Merit Scholarship, which if you have any questions about, we can certainly discuss in more detail, but that's coming up on the 12th, so we look forward to seeing you there. On the October 31st, we have an opportunity for our junior students to take a mock ACT. And so the ACT is an additional testing opportunity. So the SAT and the ACT are the two options that you have when submitting test scores. The mock ACT is not scored in that it will be sent to colleges. It is only done here at the Bryn Mawr School. Your test score never gets shared. It's just for you to have a baseline. Is the ACT a good fit for me? Was this test better or worse than the PSAT? How did my score kind of shake out in comparison between the two? So that is optional for you. You have the ability to sign up for the mock ACT and do that with us on the 31st. And we do have registration available on our website. So those are the tests that are coming up. And I would say generally sort of the testing schedule that you're looking at, you have a handout that we gave you or that you should have been able to pick up, which will kind of give you a to-do list or a checklist of things to consider over the next year. Testing is definitely one of them. So as tests start to come up, November and then December through July for the SAT and ACT, you'll want to start thinking about when it makes sense to fit that into your schedule. And at that point, of course, come talk to us if you have any questions. More upcoming events, and these ones are not testing, so you can be a little more jazzed. So college representative visits. Ms. Strauss mentioned that we have tons of college friends coming to visit us so that our students can learn more about their campuses, academic programs, and clubs and activities, and really get a sense for kind of next level from the website. What are the things I can't find or that I really need to hear from someone in person? So we have college reps coming to visit us over the next several weeks. They'll be happening predominantly in the Howell Center in the college counseling room, and all of our junior students are available to come visit during your free periods. So you can register and see the full list of colleges that are visiting on Naviance, which is a program you probably haven't logged into in a bit. So we have a handout here with directions on how to log in, how to see that list, and how to register for visits. We do encourage you, if you have free periods that align with colleges you'd like to learn more about, to please come join us and come with questions. As Ms. Strauss mentioned, our college representatives are on the road for several weeks, and there is nothing worse, am I right, than a dead room. So come with lots of questions, do some research ahead of time, and have a really informed discussion with that person, and it can help you start to crystallize what you're looking for in the college process. And then just a quick plug for our college counseling events page. So on the Bryn Mawr site under college counseling, we do have a list of upcoming events that we keep current with both events from colleges locally here in the Baltimore, DC area, as well as any virtual events that are being hosted by individual schools, and a bunch of really great informational sessions. So Ms. Strauss has already mentioned the financial planning session, which I think is a terrific opportunity to learn more about aid and financing college. There's also an upcoming athletic recruiting event for students who are interested in learning more about that process, as well as a webinar coming up about test optional policies. So if you want to learn more about testing and test optional and what that really looks like, please join us for those webinars. And then another quick reminder, please come back in January for our case studies program. So case studies are where we will be doing sort of a mock admissions committee. As you get further into the process, we'll really help you understand what goes into the review so that you can understand the process sort of from the inside out, and it'll help you as you start to write your essays to think about what it was like to be the reader on the opposite end. And then our signature program is Camp College. So Camp College is a summer program that's offered to all of our Bryn Mawr rising senior students, and we highly encourage that you attend. So it's a 4-day program in June where we will go sort of boot camp style through your application, getting your Common App up and running, helping you start to complete it, going through a college essay workshop, so thinking about tips and tricks and how do I plan to write the best essay possible, how do I even choose a topic that's really going to highlight all of the strengths of who I am as a person and an applicant, and then think about supplemental essays. How do I answer the why us? How do I think about these more creative prompts and really make sure that I'm demonstrating why I'm a good fit for this school? So I am biased, but I do think this is a great program and a really incredible opportunity for you to join your classmates and your counseling staff to get a big leg up in the college application process. And with that, we are going to turn it over to Mr. Allstrand, who's going to give us just a few remarks about the admissions process and helping you understand a little bit more about what goes into it. So Eric Allstrand currently serves as the Associate Director of Admissions at Dartmouth College, specifically managing the application review, selection, data analytics, and domestic recruitment. In his time in admissions, Eric has handled legacy and international recruitment, scholarship selection process, alumni interviews, campus visit programming, and college counselor relations. Prior to his current role, he worked in the admissions office at Furman University after receiving his BS in neuroscience. So, Mr. Allstrand, we invite you to the stage.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Everyone's awake. It's great. It's very true. A dead room is a tough one, but y'all are great here today. So for the students who are here in the audience, how many of y'all are super excited, can't wait to apply to college? And that's what I thought. How many of you are dreading this process? So good. So I'm in the middle. That's a good sign. That's a good thing. For the parents in the audience, I won't ask that because I can guess. But for how many of you is this your first child headed off to college? Awesome, great. For how many of you is your last child headed off to college? Congratulations. That's a great sign. I am an only child. My mother saw me. She said, one and done, no more. But as was mentioned a little about me, I grew up outside Boston, and I was the first in my family to head to college, a first-generation college student. And I grew up in a place where there were a lot of colleges, not unlike Baltimore. And I wanted to try something different. I wanted a small liberal arts college in a different part of the country. And as I was narrowing my list, as I was putting those things together, I was thinking about what are my negotiables, what's my dishwasher, where I can kind of make a concession there. And in constructing my list, I ended up at a place where I did major in neuroscience, which I think is a testament to the fact that it matters just as much what you do at college as what you choose to major in. That said, working in college admissions is not without its neuropsychology, I would say. If you've ever met a high schooler, you can probably empathize with that. But you are, in this process, presenting us with information, and we're putting together a puzzle. We are going through and looking at clues to learn more about you. And there's a lot of information there. And as you're going through the common application, as you're putting these pieces together, you're painting for us a really whole picture of who you are, because we're inviting you to be part of our campus for 4 years. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're going to be on our campus contributing to our community. So we really want as much information as possible on you so that we can really put that together. And when you hear these elements of fit, and that's a phrase you're going to hear a lot, there are so many different elements of it. We heard about a few here. We heard about academic, we heard about financial fit, we heard about personal fit. You're also going to have things that might be artistic fit, athletic fit, religious fit. You're going to have different parameters in terms of what's important to you, and that's going to influence how you go about this process. And I think when you're putting together a list of schools, when you get to that point, you're going to have a list of schools that would all be excellent fits. I really hope to reject the idea of there being, this is my top choice. This is the only place where I would be happy. Y'all are so well prepared coming out of Bryn Mawr. You're going to be successful and take advantage of opportunities at so many different places. And there are 4,000 colleges and universities in the country, and you were in charge of 2 of the 3 decisions in this process. So that first decision, you get to choose, and this is a tough one, how to whittle that group of 4,000 universities down to a sensible list of schools to apply to. And I think that that is overwhelming sometimes. You are very fortunate to have absolute experts in the field right down here who know a lot about those 4,000 universities and thinking about who you are as they've gotten to know you over the course of these 2 years and what it might be a university that you're going to find really fulfilling. That said, that when you're constructing that list, your priorities, your fit is going to be different than your best friends. It's going to be different than your cousin's best friend's sister who once told you that this is how you get into this school. Their whole profile is going to be different in terms of who they are. And when you go through this process, I think, particularly right now, there's a lot of clickbait out there in terms of the college application process. I won't deny that. But I think that there are lots of things that are elements of fit in terms of how you are going to spend your 4 years. How selective a school is not one of those. And I think that when you let that drive your process, you might end up at a place where you're not going to be happy for 4 years. And there's nothing that we in the admission office, certainly in the college counseling office, want to prevent more than that potentially taking place. So making sure that when you're thinking about fit, you're factoring in so many things that are personal, and I love that the word introspection was used a lot because that's really what this is about. What are your priorities? Again, where do you find energy? What do you find fulfilling? And over the next 2 years, that's going to change. And as you think more about, both in terms of academics, but in terms of just interpersonal relations between you and your peers, there are going to be different things that really rise to the top of that list. It's a lot. I'm overwhelmed by what we just went through, and I don't have to do this again. I think it's helpful to put on that organization hat, and I think this is a really helpful place where parents come in as well. Staying organized in this process can be helpful. Pull out a spreadsheet or a Google sheet. You will, become maybe familiar with conditional formatting, and keep track of this thing as you're going through this process. Again, deciding what are those musts, those things that you really need in a college that you see yourself being happy at. What are those negotiables? Things that are on your radar, things you're thinking about, but when you're going through this process, one factor that you're factoring in, but not a deal killer. Then you have those deal killers. What are those things? Like, I need a parking spot. It could be that you need to be at a place that has that style of learning that you've really succeeded in thus far at Bryn Mawr. It could be that you really need a specific music program because you want to continue playing in a chamber orchestra or something like that, even if you aren't going to major in it. Doing some, again, honest introspection yourself as a student before you talk to anyone else about this, really helpful as you're really clarifying your priorities. When you go out on tours, you are at a really great place here in the Baltimore area. You have such a huge array of schools to look at. That's not to say that you necessarily want to be in the Baltimore area for school, but you really need to take advantage of that. Go see that small liberal arts college. Go see that medium-sized institution. Go see that large state university. And even if you aren't considering that school specifically, stepping foot on that campus and getting the feel of what it actually feels like can be so instructive. When I was a rising, or I guess I was technically a junior, when I was literally in your seat, I went on my first college tour ever. I thought for sure I was going to go to this specific large state university. There was no doubt in my mind. I knew exactly what program I was going to take. I knew what specific track within the major I was going to have. I was neurotic. And I got on a plane. My mom was like, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to try this out. Got on a plane, went to that place, and walked around, and I was like, ugh, it's not what I thought it was. And I really, again, had to step back and do some introspection and see where am I going to be most successful. And I think being willing to be surprised is one of the most important things about this process. Making sure that you're remembering things as well. Take pictures on a campus tour. I know that it feels like it's going to be embarrassing, but it will be so helpful down the road, not only when you're thinking about schools, but also when you're writing those supplemental essays to jog your memory of what happened on that college campus, because I will be the first to admit, they all blend together. So keeping track of that. When you're going through and having that campus tour, for the parents in the audience, I really encourage you to let your student experience it first. They will never admit how much your opinion matters to them. And letting them have that experience first, asking more questions of them than you offer opinions, especially while they're in that moment, and letting them reflect is hopefully exciting. Your students finding out more about themselves and, again, what priorities they have and what fulfills them. So let them kind of have that experience first. That said, they're going to need some help in planning that visit themselves, booking that visit, making sure the travel arrangements are there, and that can be a really key moment for parents to be helpful. But making sure that they're experiencing that first is kind of bedrock to that. I want to leave you with some practical advice first, and then maybe some lofty advice at the end. The first is shameless self-promotion. Dartmouth's admissions dean, Lee Coffin, has a podcast. I think over the last 3 years, we've looked at a lot of screens, and particularly in the college search process, there's a lot of great ways to get to know colleges virtually, which is amazing, but it's a lot of screen time. When you are maybe sitting in traffic, driving 38 miles, but for 2 hours, both parents and students, the podcast is called The Search. You can find it on any podcast app where you get podcasts. And I cannot overemphasize, and I would never say this in front of Lee, it's an incredible resource. It's not specifically about Dartmouth, it's about the college search in general. He did it during the pandemic, so it's, I think, really helpful thinking about the new things that are available in terms of getting to know schools virtually. But as you're organizing this process, as you are thinking about the other end of the application process, the person who's going to be reading your application at the end, hearing those people talk about it can be really, really helpful. There are 2 seasons, would recommend, happy to plug my favorite episodes afterwards if you'd like, but doing that will be really helpful. We are also, and this is kind of the second piece, we as universities are really usually good at our jobs. These will be the last 2 years that you live with your parents. All the students in the room are thrilled, all the parents in the room just had a mild heart attack. And I really encourage you to not let this process suck up all the oxygen of those last 2 years. Really practical advice and kind of implementing that is setting aside time each week to talk about college. And that might wax and wane in terms of how often it happens over the course of the next 2 years that you have. But if you have, we talk about college on Sunday afternoons for 1 hour. So when mom thinks of a new school to add to your list on Thursday morning, she's not blowing up your phone. When your aunt says, "Oh, I just thought of this great supplemental prompt or supplemental response you should give," or this really new specific program that I just heard about on Tuesday night, she's not interrupting your study session to talk about that. And you can kind of compartmentalize it a little bit to talk about it then. Set that, egg timers aren't a thing anymore. Set your phone timer, and for the student, you're in charge of that. So you have that hour, that's when you go through those emails you probably didn't check. That's when you talk about where you are in terms of your different assignments from the college counseling office. That's when you maybe are looking at your common application as that's coming together or looking at essays. But when that alarm goes off, that's when you're done. And if the student wants to say, let's keep going, let's finish revising this essay, or this is really great, like we're going down this cool rabbit hole and I'm learning about this new school I hadn't thought about, you can keep going. But making sure that the student has the onus there, again, makes it so that this process doesn't take up every waking moment of your life, because it can absolutely do that if you let it. And I really encourage you not to do that. For those lofty words, I think that when we're thinking down the road, there was a study by Dell Technologies a couple of years ago. It's I think 2018 study. It said that 85% of jobs in 2030 do not currently exist. You are going to be responsible for solving problems 10, 20, 30 years from now we haven't even conceptualized yet. You are coming from a really, really strong background, coming from Bryn Mawr, where you've had to sit in those classrooms and grapple with ideas and bring those conversation points to bear, whether it be in a debate or reckoning with really conflicting ideas and holding them at your head at the same time. When you think down the road, and this is a quote from Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary. He's also the president of some small school in Cambridge, Massachusetts, not important. He said, increasingly anything you learn is going to become obsolete within a decade. The most important kind of learning is how to learn, because you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life. We need you to do it. When I am old and moldy, I'm going to be looking to you to solve those problems and make this world a better place. Learning how to learn means doing so collaboratively and doing so with compassion. I think that, again, you have a really strong background coming from Bryn Mawr and doing that, and be grateful for that. But when you think about your college experience, again, knowing that you're going to be interacting with people from all over the country, all over the world, hopefully that's really exciting. And as you're looking down the road and again, doing some introspection about what's important to you, know that these things are waiting for you and those opportunities are right around the corner. There's a great book called Excellent Sheep. I don't know, it's probably not the one we're auctioning off today, but it's a great book by William Derezowitz, another pronunciation issue, that's a tough one. He notes that being focused every day to think about the hardest things people have ever thought about is the best training you can give yourself and how to talk and think, and I would add live. You have such great backing here at Bryn Mawr. I'm truly not saying this because your college counselors in the room. Take advantage of them. You have experts who are going to not only know about a group of 20 schools, 50 schools that get talked about a lot, but they're gonna be able to get to know you and do some real individualization and help you find that place that's going to be the fit. And again, I hope this process is exciting. I know that there's a lot of kind of ambient anxiety around this, and I know that as you're steering through this, you do have a great kind of rudder in the college counseling office that can be part of that. Thank you again for having me, and I'm excited to get some of the questions that y'all have for the rest of the evening. I want to make sure no one falls.
Thank you so much, Eric. That was amazing. And would you join me over to in the sofa fireside chat area, and we will have some questions. So, all right. And I think they are on. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Denton. Excellent. Okay, so we have heard a lot of information tonight, a lot of blah, blah, blah from the college counseling office, and then really important things from Mr. Allstrand. So would love to open this up to some questions from the audience. Always very interested in student questions and also in parent and caregiver questions. So if you have a question that you would like to ask, either of the college counseling office and or our partners on the college admission side, we would love to entertain those questions. So who's going to be the first? Excellent. Yes, please. And we will repeat the question. Thank you for standing, because at the Bryn Mawr School, during convocation, when you ask a question, the students stand. So I love this, and I think this is a perfect example. So I would love it if everyone did this. Yes, please.
I've heard that going on college visits demonstrate your interest in a certain college. Will college representatives take note of whether or not you come to their sessions?
That is an excellent question. Thank you so much for being so brave to ask the first question. The question was, she has heard that when visiting colleges, college campuses, that this thing called demonstrated interest is something that they are going to notice, or are they going to notice? Do you keep track of that? And maybe how else might you demonstrate interest? So that's excellent.
This is a really great question. And I would encourage you to ask this question of every school that you're getting to know, because it will be different at every school. So demonstrated interest is, again, it comes in a lot of different forms. A school might consider different things as part of demonstrated interest. I want to start first, though, why are schools asking? There are a lot of reasons that school might be looking at demonstrated interest. They want to know, if you're admitted, are you going to enroll? That's kind of the crux of it. They want to know that you've done your research about the institution, that you're not throwing in an application, willy-nilly, because you can apply to a bunch on the Common Application. So it could be a campus visit. That's a high bar, especially in some parts of the country. It could be a virtual campus visit, though, that you might be doing. A school might be looking at, whether if you were able to attend the visit when the school came to Bryn Mawr, whether you did so. If you didn't, were you able to email and say, I'm so sorry, I wasn't able to make it. I look forward to, sending in my application, and have a lovely travel season. Some schools are going to go further. They might be looking at whether or not you're opening emails or replying to certain things. You should always check your emails, but that being a thing kind of in the background. Again, it will vary from school to school, whether or not they do that. And again, asking them, do you consider demonstrated interest? And if so, what are some of the things that are considered in that is an excellent question to ask throughout this process.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric, for talking a little bit more about demonstrated interest. As Mr. Alstrom said, they do want to know if they take a chance on you and if they admit you, how likely are you going to come, right? And part of if they are tracking demonstrated interest, and not every school is tracking, such as Dartmouth.
Yeah, no, I don't got time for that.
So some schools don't track it at all, and other schools, like he said, are tracking it quite a lot through clicks, right? Click-throughs. How many click-throughs are you doing on their emails that they're sending you? Are you opening the email? How much time are you spending on the email? How many click-throughs? How deep are you going into the website? And what are you looking at? Because they're also using that information to, right, it's all big data, and they're using that information that, oh, she's spending a lot of time, the student's spending a lot of time on our neuroscience program. Let's start sending her some emails about neuroscience, because that seems like that's something that she's interested in. So you do not have to answer or open every email that you get from every college, because show of hands by students, how many of you are getting spammed ridiculously from colleges? Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. To the tune of 50, 60, 70, 80 emails a day. It's crazy. So what we suggest is, if you are starting to get emails, you might want to, you don't have to click into everyone, but if something comes through and looks kind of interesting to you, click it, right? Click it, spend a few seconds. Oh, yeah, I do like this. I like this. I like the graphic. Oh my gosh, they have this cool new supply chain management major. I don't think any high school student has ever said, oh, they have this cool new supply chain management major, but I will tell you, supply chain management is where it's at, people, where it's at. Right. So if you want a good job that pays a lot of money, supply chain management. Right. So yes, and they are, can you talk a little bit, can you pull the curtain back a little bit and talk about Slate?
Yeah, so y'all maybe are already or are increasingly familiar with Naviance. It's this platform that you use at Bryn Mawr, many schools use it, and it's a kind of central storage and database for a lot of information, whether that be for when a college is visiting campus, and you might have the opportunity to meet with them. It could be information on past results on admissions and some information about those individuals. It's anonymized. There's a lot of information in Naviance. We have something in college admissions. It's certainly the most popular kind of platform. It's called Slate, and it's like Naviance on steroids. It is how...
It's much more evolved and user-friendly.
Yeah, it is.
Naviance is like 1992.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to feel like it's like Windows 95. But Slate is how many schools do all of their email campaigns. So when you're getting those emails, when you're doing those clicks, we can export that data. When we're scheduling visits, you probably have noticed if you've scheduled a virtual visit, a lot of the schools' forms look oddly familiar. They're all using Slate. You are, at many schools, reading applications through that. So it's kind of the file flow of how we'll be reading an application. But there's an insane amount of data in Slate. And I spend a lot of my time in the data. It's a lot of fun. But being able to kind of track all of that and keep it all together is something that is really useful for us. But it means that a lot of these things are centralized and we can access. And one note in particular, in terms of receiving those emails, a great tip, and this is just a life tip, if you're getting a lot of those emails, one, you can unsubscribe to those, and if you're not considering that school. Two, If you're thinking about it, maybe, but you feel like you're truly inundated, but you really want to be receiving those emails from those schools that you're really strongly considering, it's called Unroll Me. It's a great service that you can have that essentially compiles all of the emails from, and I have, my J. Crew goes to that. My Banana Republic sales, the 33 emails H&M sends me, those go through Unroll Me. But if you're applying to college, then you can, funnel some of those there, and you get one email a day. Everything's there. You can kind of skim through and be like, oh, this is really interesting. Oh, they just announced they have a new president. That's kind of cool. And oh, it's their first female president. That's great. I might click on that and go through to that. But it's a way of cleaning up, doing some inbox maintenance. And you will use it into adulthood. I promise I'm addicted.
And I would say too, the click-throughs and stuff, this becomes much more important when you're a senior and you're actually applying to, right? Now, they're not expecting you to be clicking through every email, so this will become much more important. But reading email is a life skill and it is an adult skill. And I know it is not something, I know in your classes you have to read it, but it is not where you all live, it's not where the students live right now, it is where adults live and it is where the college admissions process lives. So you must check your email. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for that wonderful first question. Can we go to this side and then we'll come back? Yes, in the back.
Hi, good evening. Hopefully I'm loud enough for everybody.
Good evening, you sure are.
Great, awesome. So I have a question, I'm sure it's on everyone's minds. We've been talking about it in our home, which is how many applications is the sweet spot?
Thank you. I will repeat that for the folks at home, but I think I appreciate you amplifying. Basically, the question is how many applications, what's the sweet spot, how many applications do students submit or should students submit? So that's a great question, thank you so much. If you're a parent or caregiver in the audience and you went to college maybe 30 to 40 years ago, probably you applied to maybe 4 schools or 5 schools or maybe 2 schools. That has changed so much over time. One, the internet was invented, this crazy thing called the internet was invented, which really, made college applications so much easier. But I think that is a good question. And with the test optional movement, which really sort of blossomed, there's always been test optional. It's been test optional for 30, 40 years. But when the pandemic hit and kids had no access to testing, colleges had to go test optional, right? Because in 2020, the class of 2021, they could not find a test. It was not safe. You were not going to risk your life to go sit in a room for 4 hours and take an SAT. So there were no tests available. So it forced, quite frankly, the colleges to go test optional because if they wanted to admit a class and put heads in beds, as we say, they needed to waive the testing requirement. It has stayed, right? We don't know whether it's going to stay. We kind of think it's going to stay for your class and classes after you, but we don't know. Most of them are doing pilot programs. Are you still in a pilot? So they're looking at data, again, to see how these students fare once they get onto campus. Anyways, because of test optional, and when testing was no longer a barrier to apply to, pretty much any school in the country, we saw applications explode. Also during COVID, kids could not travel and couldn't see schools in person, so they were really making all of these decisions virtually. So you're like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna like this school in Chicago because I've never visited it, but so I better apply to some 10 other schools. We believe at Bryn Mawr, we talk to our seniors about this, and we like to say that we have a strategy of 443, and 443 is oftentimes the area code or the first 3 digits of your cell phone, or which is probably all that we have now, but 4 reach, 4 target, 3 likely. So there are different categories and there are ways that we categorize based on admit rates, based on the data that is from Bryn Mawr and national admit data. We feel like that is a good starting place, 443, okay? 4 reach, 4 target, 3 likelies. You don't have to apply to 443, but I think that's a good place to start. When you get to more than that, it becomes incredibly overwhelming and you will be writing 30, 40, 50 essays. That's a lot of writing, and that's a lot of time. It's time away from your senior year, it's time away from your family, it's time away from your classes. And it's a lot of money. When you're getting, when you're applying to more than that and you're spending $2,500, $3,000 in application fees, it's completely unnecessary. And it's unlikely that you're able to do a really good application when you're applying to more than that. So that's our answer. Do you have any?
No, that is brilliant. And I think, again, to the point, like, you have a great resource in folks so that I can't do math, 4 plus 4 plus 3, 11? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Those 11 schools, all of them should be places you would be thrilled to attend. And again, like, it matters so much more what you do at the place and what opportunities you have at that place than the specific, of that institution.
But I do think that that's a great starting place, and thank you for asking that question, because we are not interested in producing lists that have 25 schools on them, because that is not good. But we also want to make sure that you have a home, right? And that we want to make sure that there's enough breadth and depth in your list that you have a home after Bryn Mawr and that you're not living in your parents' basement. So, great question. Okay, yes, sir, back here, yes.
So you just referred to this distribution of safe and et cetera. But which end of the spectrum is really the best for the student and is going to conduce to them really being successful and et cetera?
I hope they're all that.
Can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, sorry, yes. So the question was kind of in that distribution of reach, target, and likely, kind of that stretch, what is going to be best for the student? And I really, truly hope, again, there are 4,000 colleges and universities in the country. We're talking about 11.
Not even including the UK,
Right.
Canada,
Right.
Exactly. Europe. I mean, really, there's a lot of options.
Right. So really, all of these places should be places where, and again, to be frank, I think that you've had a great education to that point. You're going to thrive in many, many places. But every school on that list should be a place where you'd be really successful. I think the striation that Anne-Marie's describing is it's about numbers. It's about and I like to try to draw a distinction between strategy and this being a game. It's not a game. It's not something to kind of manipulate or to like try to game the system or something like that. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a strategy in applying. And you're going to work with your college counselors based on their both knowledge of the landscape, knowledge of recent history in college admissions, which is different. Gosh, it's different this year than it was last year, and certainly than it was 5 years ago. And they're going to have knowledge about who you are. Metrics, yes, but so much more than that. And then I will be honest. For instance, at Dartmouth College, we could admit 4 times the number of students and be equally happy and thrilled with the class of students we would bring in. We just don't have room. So there's a certain element of this that is not predictable. And this is one thing, I feel like a therapist sometimes when I talk about this, I feel like my therapist, where you have to like remember your locus of control. There are things within your control in this process. How you put together your application, especially starting in junior year, you have a little, you're going to do course selection for next year. You're going to be really nice to your teachers because they're going to write you recommendation letters for next year. But there are things that are outside your control. Institutional priorities at schools will be outside your control. National trends in application volume. One thing that was mentioned, many schools saw large increases in applications. That didn't mean there were more high school seniors necessarily. They were just applying to more schools, and that didn't mean that there were fewer seats in universities across the country. They were about the same, if not maybe more. It just means that the math was a little bit different. So working with your college counselor and developing a thoughtful strategy is different than trying to game something out and trying to fit the student to the school, which I think is a really dangerous zone. Because if you try to do that, you're going to end up at a place where you are not going to be happy. And making sure that that's avoided is everyone's number one priority. But what would you add to that?
Well, thank you. I think that's super helpful information. One other way, sometimes that I talk about this, about the reach, target, likely, and the balance list, and you're going to hear that a lot, right? We want you to have a balance list. Another way that sometimes I talk about this is particularly for adults and for the students in the room who have interest and are learning about financial literacy and building a portfolio. We want your list. A balanced list is kind of like having a diversified portfolio, investment portfolio, right? You're going to want some high risk in that portfolio. You want moderate risk, and then you want low risk investments. That's kind of like the college list. You want there's some high risk, those are going to be your reaches, some moderate risk, your target, and then some likelies, which are the low risk. But you need all of that or you should have all of that in your investment portfolio for most people. I am not a financial planner, so I'm not giving any financial advice here, but sometimes I think about it like that. I also do strongly believe, our philosophy strongly is if you've done you're introspective, you've done all the things that you will do here at the Bryn Mawr School through the college search process, and you compile this list of 443, every school on that list is going to be a place where you're going to thrive. We don't want you just to survive. We want you to go to college and to thrive. And that's really, truly what we believe. So, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Yes.
Are there any extracurriculars, or how do extracurriculars and internships impact the application process? And are there any extracurriculars or internships in particular that stand out to undergrad programs?
Yeah. So the question was, generally, how do extracurriculars and activities and things students do outside the classroom impact the college application process? And in particular, if there are any things in particular that stand out to a university. So what our job is to do on a campus is to put together a class of students who will come to our campus and thrive, but contribute in a lot of different ways. So, and sometimes it's really granular. It's literally, we need a couple more French horns, and that might stand out in that moment. But I love that you use the word activities because it expands it from things that have a title or have an organization to it. Yes, being parts of clubs or sports or anything within Bryn Mawr, we should certainly hear about that. But anything you're doing outside, absolutely. For a lot of you, it might be picking up a younger sibling from the bus and making them a grilled cheese when they get home. I know that sounds so silly, and why would a college care about that? But one, it's how you're spending your time. Two, there are a lot of valuable things we learn about you. We learn you probably have a lot of patience, responsibility. You can make a grilled cheese, which is good. We're learning things about you and your character through the different things that you're doing. So not only are we trying to, field teams and fill programs in terms of student activities on our campuses, but we're also looking at those and seeing what characteristics have these activities kind of taught you, and what are you going to bring to our campus that's going to be valuable. Being responsible and having patience and being dependable. Yes, you're picking up a younger sibling from a bus stop. There's no captain of that. There's no leadership title there, but that's leadership. And you're going to do that on our campus. So I think that I'll say that broadly. Then there are going to be specific cases, right? When you talk about kind of special involvement, that could be athletics. So I really encourage you, and I honestly might get the link to that athletic recruiting session if you're interested in that and hearing more about that. We have a certain number of teams with a certain number of players on each of them. It could be that a program has a really intense and really well-known and really important symphony orchestra at that institution. And that's going to be more granular to that school and to that student. But I think you should spend your time doing the things that you want to do and then tell us why you did them and what you got out of them. And this is like a semantics thing, but on the application, you'll tell us what you're involved in, and if you have a role in that's named. A caveat on that: not all individuals who are leaders have a title, and certainly not all folks who have a title are leaders. That's something to set aside. But you also have a blurb under that. And you could say, you're on the cross-country team, and that you maybe were captain your senior year. And then some students will list like the 43 meets that they participated in and maybe like an award that they won. I really would encourage you to use that space to tell me what you learned out of that, and what you got out of being on the cross-country team, and how it's going to make you a valuable community member on our campus, because that's what we want there. It's short. You can't like go on you can't write a novel under
150
that.
characters.
Yeah,
it's like a tweet.
It's a little tweet. But that's what we care. Like, that's why we're asking about your involvement, not to see how many class presidents we can have. If we just admitted class presidents, it would be a miserable place to go to college. But filling out that whole student body, and making sure that we have kind of a well-rounded student body as a whole, as a class.
And can we talk a little bit further about part-time jobs? Because oftentimes we get asked in our office, sometimes by students, but often by parents and caregivers, actually by students who are kind of the mediary on this question, but about part-time jobs, and then the part-time job is, and we'll say, yes, get a part-time job. Get that job, get some money, get some cash. We love it. Get a job. That is good training for adulting.
Right.
We love part-time jobs,
Right.
as do they. And then the follow-up question is, I'm like, yeah, go to the Charmery, scoop some ice cream, go to, Raw Juice Bar, whatever that place is called, and do some, be the cashier person behind that, and interact with the public,
Learn
right?
how to make change.
Learn how to make
Wild.
change. I mean, learn how to clean, learn how to show up, learn how to have a supervisor and coworkers. And sometimes the questions are, well, oh, really? But shouldn't she could like, my, friend, my neighbor down the street has a law firm, and she could work at the law firm for the summer, and isn't that a better job than scooping ice cream?
That word "better" is doing a lot of work there. I think that, if you are at that law firm and you are burning the midnight oil and doing paralegal work and helping folks out and helping with pro bono cases or something like that, and you're telling me about that, great. I think that we might come across an application and we're like, oh, the student, they were involved in this internship at this, organization, and then we notice that that organization is where both parents also happen to work, and it's not a negative. It's not a positive. It's just a fact. It's a piece of information. I will say that to the point that you made, showing through this process that you are a real person and not just going to take what's handed to you, and taking some initiative is really important. And that doesn't mean that doing something that might be considered a more white collar job is necessarily a bad thing. But when you're going through that process, and this also kind of applies to internships, making sure that you are being intentional about it, taking initiative and doing it, and then reflecting on it afterwards. Because the whole point of doing internships, and this is the case in college too, is not just to slap something on your resume. I don't care about an internship if you just throw it on there and I'm like, okay, you did something for 3 weeks and fine. Again, not a positive nor a negative. But if you are doing something and it's helping clarify what you see yourself doing, or it is maybe helping you realize what you don't want to do, helping you realize how to work with people who are really different than you, or to work in an environment that's much more fast-paced than you'd been in before, where you had a lot more onus placed on you. Tell me about that, because that's going to paint the picture of what was in that short little line. And there are other places in the application where you'll talk about that sort of thing. But I think that doing something for the sake of doing it is just not worth it. I will also say, a lot of times we get asked, if I'm interested in medicine, maybe, in the long term, do I need to have done an internship in the medical field. You do not need to have done an internship in the field of which you're working or had any involvement necessarily in the field in which you're thinking about in the future. One, you're going to change your mind. You have time to figure it out. But two, tell me why you're interested in it, though. What sparks your fascination with healthcare? How has it impacted your life, and how is your lived experience going to make you a powerful member of our community and then orients you in the direction of healthcare? That doesn't mean that you have to have spent time in a hospital or shadowed a surgeon or something like that. You can still get that experience by learning more about the field, educating yourself, and that could be reading a book. Tell me about that. I know, again, it seems so silly. Tell me you read books. It's a good sign.
Reading is good.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be something that is like formal in that way.
And I just realized that I think at the beginning of this program, I said we were done at 8:30, and we are done at 8 o'clock. So, oops, we are actually done at 8 o'clock, which is an hour and a half. That is as much as you all have to sit. So at this point, it is 7:56. We are now going to draw some names for the books, for the raffles, and then when we are, yes, oh, thank you, and yes, clap, 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 yeah. Thank you, Eric. So before we leave, we are going to pull some names. Actually, if you would do the honors and pull some names from the raffle, from the fishbowl. And then we will then, what's that?
That's right.
Yes, yes, please. Yes. Okay.
All right. I apologize in advance for pronunciation.
Okay, wait. Before you announce, let's tell them what they're winning, right?
Yeah, so these are both great books. I own both of these books, even though one of them is a family guide and I have a dog. That's my family. She's not going to college.
Yeah.
She's smart, but not that smart. So one is The Truth About College Admissions, a family guide. It's written by Brendan Barnard, who's a longtime college counselor and has worked on a project called Harvard Turning the Tide, which reflected a lot on college admissions. And Rick Clark, who's a longtime director of admissions at Georgetown Tech, and one of the coolest guides on the internet. I encourage both of you. I don't think students use Twitter anymore, but if you're a parent and you're on Twitter, follow them. They're brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brendan Bernard and Rick Clark, and along with Lee Coffin's podcast,
The Search.
The Search. Also, the website, and Rick Clark writes a brilliant blog. Yeah. So, and then the other book is
Who Gets In and Why by Jeff Selingo, who writes a lot in some clickbait articles about the college application process, but he spent time in college admission offices, 3 different admission offices that go unnamed, and offers, I think, a really transparent and I think really affirming peek behind the curtain into how this works, and 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah. So these are 2 books that we absolutely recommend, and the Jeff Selingo book is actually signed. Those are signed copies.
That's fancy.
So our first winner.
Our first winner is Mary Fisher.
Mary Fisher, come on up! Yay!
Thrilled, excited for you.
Excellent. Yay! Good job.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
All right. We have the next winner, Sarah Johnson.
Sarah Johnson. All right. Excellent. Thank you. Congrats, Sarah. Yep.
We have Sanjay Srishtana.
Sanjay. Yay. All right. Excellent. Congrats.
We have Morgan Showalter.
Morgan. Woo. Congratulations, Morgan. Oh, awesome.
Down in here.
Okay.
You always want that one at the bottom.
Wait, 3 more names.
All right. John DeLong.
John DeLong. Yay. Awesome. All right. Awesome. Yeah. Yep.
An emissary from John.
Okay.
Awesome. And
3 more. Okay. Yes.
Mac McCulloch.
Mac McCulloch. Congratulations. Okay. This is the family guide to college admissions.
Awesome. We have Sia Kyra Cole. Y'all, I'm terrible at this. I'm going to dig. Conkus. Okay, all right.
Kyriakakis. Yay, awesome. Good job.
I can't read as the front dog. All right.
All right, how many more? One more, last one.
Drum roll. Wendy Peak.
Wendy, woo, I love it. That's great. Congratulations. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out tonight. Thank you, students and families, for spending your time with us. We truly appreciate you. We are so looking forward to working with you. Thank you. One more big hand for Eric for joining us tonight. And that's the end of the show. So oh no. Somebody left their cell phone out there, so come and retrieve your phone right there, and be safe going home tonight. Thank you.